Ram said to Lakshman, enough. Do something. So Lakshman took his arrow and cut off her nose. It was the world's first plastic surgery. Now, Suparnika may be a powerful Rakshashi, but she's a lady, and ladies like to have their nose nice, I guess. So this was really humiliating. It was painful as anything. There was blood pouring everywhere, and she screamed for revenge and ran away. And in a nearby forest, her two brothers, Kara and Dushan, happened to be camping with an army of 14,000 empowered mystical Rakshasas. When she ran to them, they were shocked to see her face was covered with blood. Her clothes were, her whole body was bloody, and she didn't have a nose. What happened to you? What happened to me? What happened to you? Our whole dynasty is being disgraced by this mere mortals, Ram and Lakshman, and you're sitting here enjoying the forest. Go and destroy them, you cowards. She knew really right how to agitate their egos. So they assembled their wars and started blowing their horns and charged Panchavati. The galloping of 14,000 massive Rakshasas. Some were running, some were on horses, some were on elephants, some were flying. Ram told Lakshman, put Sita in a cave and guard that cave. I will fight. In Nasik today, there is a place called Sita Gufa. You have to crawl in a hole underground, and that is where Sita was being protected. Lakshman would not go in that cave. He was standing outside the doorway, guarding it with his life and soul. Meanwhile, in the Janastan forest, Ram was standing all alone as Kara, Dushan, and all of these Rakshasas attacked him. Kulashekhar's listening to this. His love of God went into a frenzy. He screamed out, my ministers, my generals, my armies, immediately prepare for battle. At once we will march to the Janastan forest. Ram is alone. 14,000 Rakshasa soldiers, Kara and Dushan, the brothers of Ravana. Lakshman's protecting Sita. Ram is all by himself. How can I tolerate this? When I have armies, when I have strength, when I have power, how could I tolerate sitting here enjoying when my Lord is all alone, surrounded by these Rakshasas? We will march to Janastan immediately. He's the king. In those days, it wasn't like a president says just do something and then, the Parliament and the Congress and the House of Representatives and the Senate and the lower house and the higher house and everybody decide whether this is the right thing to do or not. It wasn't like that in those days. When the king said it, that was the absolute authority. So these people are the ministers. Our king is crazy. All the armies were assembled, hundreds and thousands of soldiers, and King Kulasekhara was in the front on his horse, galloping at top speed. Now from Tiruvananthapuram to Nasik, that's about 1,000 miles. And he knew how far it was. They were galloping, and he was going, we must go faster, faster, Ram's alone. We have to be there to help him. And the ministers were thinking, that battle was 1,000,000 years ago. And it's in a book. What are we going to do? You see, Kulasekhar Alwar, he was feeling, he was realizing, he was seeing the Lord's Leela in the eternal presence. Everyone else was in illusion. He was fully enlightened. But sometimes enlightenment doesn't match with material, doesn't harmonize with material effective management. But it's beyond. He's galloping, the ministers, we have to do something about this. So they got a small regime of soldiers, really fast people. And they said, you go off to the side, you go up north, you go ahead of the king, then you come back and tell him that the battle, that you just come from Janistan, was a whole plot. So these people, they went way up north and they came down south, and as they're coming down south, they met King Kulasekhar leading the armies head on, and they said, King, we were just at Janistan. We saw everything. Ramchandra single-handedly annihilated Karadushan and all the 14,000 Rakshasas, and he has been reunited with Sita. King Kulasekhar heard this. He began to cry in ecstasy. My Lord has conquered everyone. Let's go back to the kingdom and celebrate. So he had a wonderful festival. After that, they decided, whoever is reading Ramayana should only read the happy parts. And the other parts, either skip over them or speak about them in such a way that it doesn't arouse that ecstasy of love in the king's heart. So there was one particular person, a great scholar, a guru, who was reading Ramayana every day according to this editorial policy. But one day that Brahmin had to tend to some business. He told his son, you read Ramayana to Kulasekhar, our king today. But he forgot to tell the son the policy. So he was reading. And he read the part where Maricha was approached by Ravana to take the form of a golden deer to allure Lakshman and Ram away from Sita. Maricha came to the little hermitage where Ram, Lakshman, and Sita were dwelling. He was dancing around, just a small distance away, and Sita was saying, look at that beautiful deer. His lotus eyes and hooves are like jewels. And the color and the spots of that deer, I've never seen a deer like that. Our exile only has about a year more, Ram. Catch that deer for me, and we can play with him in our palace when we return to Ayodhya. And Lakshman said, no. That deer is not one of the 8,400,000 species of life. There is no deer like that. That is the Rakshasa Maricha in the guise of a deer, just to do some bad things. So just ignore this deer. But Sita was saying, no, no, I want this deer. I really like this deer. I've become attached to this deer. Ram, get me that deer. And Ram said, I'll get you the deer. He said, Lakshman, you stay here with Sita and protect her. And Maricha was very expert. He would look at Ram and smile and then jump somewhere, and Ram would go farther, farther. He was alluring him farther and farther and farther in the forest. And then finally Ram understood that this is a demon, Maricha. He took his arrow. Went right into Maricha. Now Maricha was pretty happy actually, because he had faced Ram before, and he told Ravana, don't mess with Ram, as we say in the West. Don't disturb Ram. In the past, Subahu and myself did, and with one arrow he killed Subahu, and with another arrow he hit me, and I flew 800 miles and fell in the ocean. And since then, my whole life is in fear of Ram. When I look at a cloud, I think, Ram's going to come from that cloud and get me. When I look at a tree, I think Ram's going to come from behind that tree and kill me. Everywhere I look, when I look at the sun, I think he's going to come out of the sun. When I think, I'm completely terrified of Ram. And I'm living like a hermit mendicant in the forest in fear of Ram. And you're telling me to go, just forget Sita. If you disturb Ram, you're dead. But Ravana, like Kartavirya Arjuna, he was just too proud. He had such powers, he had such wealth, he had such fame, and he had such arrogance. Don't you blaspheme me by saying anyone is superior to my prowess. I am your king. Either you do what I say, or I will kill you on the spot at this moment. Now, he was intelligent. He knew it's much better to be killed by Ram than Ravana. But he had to do his mission. When that arrow hit Maricha, he leapt in the air very high and made a voice that sounded just like Ram's. And he cried out, Lakshman, help, help, Lakshman, help. And Sita heard that and said, Lakshman, go help, Ram is calling for you. He said, that's Maricha, the demon who's imitating Ram's voice. There's no power that can possibly overcome Ram. And Sita, who has this loving relationship of a consort, is worried about her beloved. Go and help and help. He said, no, I'm staying here with you. That is Ram's order. Now I know what your inner motive of coming to the forest was. You were waiting for Ram to leave me alone with you so that you could enjoy me. Lakshman stopped his ears. Don't ever say like that. I've never looked above your feet. She said, go, or I will end my life. I will never allow you to touch me. She didn't mean it. But she said what she had to say to get Lakshman to help Ram. So he said, I'll go. But I really fear you're not going to be here when we come back. He went. And Ram found Lakshman. He said, why aren't you with Sita? He said, what can I do? You gave me an order, she gave me an order. They ran back while they were away. There's a place called Sita Harana in Nasik. There's one little temple of Sita holding a bowl of fruit. And there's right across the courtyard is Ravana, who's dressed like a sadhu. Ravana appeared as a sadhu, and he knew that Sita loves to serve sadhus. In Chitrakoot, that was their leela. Just hearing from sadhus and serving sadhus, it was the pleasure of their life. through this wicked disguise, Ravana stole Sita away by force. As they went over Jatayu, Jatayu was crying out, Jatayu, Jatayu, don't try to stop Ravana. You're too old and he's too strong. Just tell Ram what's happened. But Jatayu could not stand there and watch this happening. Even though he knew he would die, he would rather die doing the right thing than live and watch this injustice. He attacked and fought with all of his force and was winning the battle for the majority, but because of his age, eventually he became very fatigued. And Ravana cruelly cut off his wings and his legs and had him laying there in blood. Then Ravana, according to the reading, took Sita to the Ashok Van, where he was harassing her on the island of Sri Lanka. When Kulasekhar heard that, he stood up and raised his arms and screamed, "Soldiers, military, generals, we will march to Sri Lanka immediately. My Sita, the supreme goddess of my heart, the consort of my beloved Ram, she's all alone with Ravana, surrounded by all of those Rakshasa soldiers. We must go. We will annihilate the entire dynasty. We will kill Kumbhakarna and kill Ravana and kill Indrajit. And we will bring Sita back to the loving arms of Ram. Come, we must go. We cannot, I cannot tolerate thinking of a moment of Sita there." And there they were, galloping full speed ahead towards Sri Lanka. The ministers were thinking, how are we going to stop this? And before they could even think of a solution, they had already reached the ocean near Rameshwaram. And Kulasekhar, he charged right into the ocean. And the army stopped at the shore. It's one thing obeying the king, but this was beyond logic. And King Kulshekhar was going, screaming, "Sita, we're coming! Sita, we're coming! Have no fear! We will save you! We will protect you! We will bring you back to Ram!" And as he was going deeper and deeper and deeper until he was up to his neck with his sword raised, with his eyes like red coals of anger toward Ravana. And the ministers and the soldiers were seeing their beloved king. He was about to drown. There was a whole ocean between Sri Lanka and where he was. It was really an emergency, and there was nothing they could do. The whole army was standing at the shore with their jaws open, watching in total shock, not knowing what's next. Lord Sri Ram is in the heart of Kulshekhar-3, and also being worshipped in the temple in his own palace every day with such love. Ram understood in a matter of seconds he's going to be gone. It's an emergency. What to do? So in that incredible crisis of pure ecstatic, incomprehensible devotion, the Lord promises he will protect his devotee. Ramchandra appeared right in the ocean, and he was coming from the direction of Sri Lanka. And by this time, Kulasekhara, the water's practically up to his mouth as he's running with the sword raised. And Ram said, "The battle of Sri Lanka is over. I won the war. Ravana and his brothers and his armies are slain. And I'm again with Sita. Look, I brought Sita with me just to show you." And Sita said, "Yes, I'm here. I'm with Ram again. I'm saved." And Lakshman was there too. And Ram said, "So the war is over. Let's go back to your kingdom and celebrate." Ram understood the king's situation. He said, "I will take you out of this ocean and personally carry you back to the shore. Just as I lift my devotee out of the ocean of samsara, the ocean of birth and death, and bring them to the shore of my eternal, all blissful abode." Ram lovingly, as the supreme friend, the supreme father, the supreme lover, lifted up Kulasekhara Alvar and brought him to the shore, then personally escorted him to the outskirts of his capital, then disappeared. And Kulasekhara had a glorious festival to celebrate. Today, Ram has conquered Ravana and reunited with Sita. Now for the Vaishnavas, the ecstasy of this kind of love swells our heart with appreciation. We cannot imitate such great souls. We simply want to cherish the dust of their feet by being the servant of their servants. Meanwhile, the ministers were thinking, what are we going to do with the king now? We don't know what's going to happen next. It's creating instabilities. The instabilities was actually in their minds because they didn't have faith like the king did. They honestly wanted to do what's good for the citizens, but they didn't have spiritual substance. Should I tell you what happened in that meeting among the ministers? It's not too late? Okay, I'll tell. We have till January 1st anyways. They were thinking, the king is always wanting to go to Sri Rangam. And we're afraid once he associates with the devotees there and sees Ranganath, he's never going to come back. So what we do is every day we bring devotees, bhaktas, for him to serve, for him to hear about Hari Katha from, just to keep him here. But our solution has become a bigger problem than the original problem. Because now all he does is associate with devotees. He's just doing kirtan and katha and pujas and doing seva and we're in the most important meetings, and if a sadhu comes in, he'll leave everybody just to serve the sadhu. And now there's sadhus everywhere. There's hundreds and hundreds of them freely going in and out of his rooms, his palaces, the inner chambers of the government. The solution: if he loses faith in the devotees, then he'll also lose his faith in Ranganath. He'll lose his desire to go to Sri Rangam, and he will also not want to waste his time with all these bhaktas. The foundation of the whole problem is he has faith in the Vaishnavas. We have to cut it down. Then everything will be normal. They made a plot. His deity of Ram Navami was coming up soon. And Ram has a very special necklace of jewels and pearls. We will take that from the jewelry box and hide it. And every day reports are given to Kulshekhar-3, who is their king. When it comes to his intention that that necklace has been stolen, he's going to have an investigation, and because the only people who have access to the deity or the jewels are the Vaishnavas, they will be found guilty. So he was told, the necklace of Sri Ram has been stolen. He was listening very carefully. They said, we know exactly who did it. It's these Vaishnavas, these devotees. They are the only ones that have access. Due to greed, they have stolen your beloved Lord Ram's jewelry. We should take them to trial. Kulasekhara listened. And then he burst out. Listen to what I say to you. What you are telling me is impossible. These devotees are pure in heart. It is inconceivable and impossible for them to steal from their beloved Lord. It is impossible for them to even think of such a sin. And to prove to you my conviction and to disprove your illusion, bring me a basket with a venomous cobra immediately. And I will plunge my hand in that basket. If the devotees are pure and spotless in their words, their thoughts, and their intentions, then that cobra cannot harm me. And if they did steal from the deity, let that cobra bite me and kill me. He's the king. They brought a basket with a deadly, poisonous cobra. And the king instantly, without a second thought, plunged his hand into the basket and then took it out. It was spotless, clean, and unharmed. Seeing this display of faith really startled the ministers. It was too much for them. They ran to the king and they bowed down and they started crying and they confessed that actually we hid it. They are pure. We're sorry. We beg forgiveness. We were trying to incriminate them because we thought they were distracting you from your duties. Kulshekhar-3 was a true follower of Ram. He had the qualities that Ram exhibited. In Chitrakoot, there was a crow. That crow scratched the soft, tender, divine body of Sita Devi and made her bleed. Sri Ram took a piece of kusha grass and made it into an arrow and threw it. And that crow flew all around the world and the universe trying to escape, but it couldn't, and ultimately that crow came back and bowed down before Sita and Ram and begged forgiveness, and Ram gave forgiveness. In fact, in Sri Ramayana, Lord Sri Ram declares that anyone who once with a sincere heart takes shelter of me and says, I am yours, I vow I will give that person all protection forever. Even if Ravana were to come to me today, I would accept him and forgive him. Kulasekhar Alwar forgave his ministers. But this incident only intensified his conviction that he has done his seva as a king. And it's time for him to go to Sri Rangam and the holy places. He coronated his own son, Shritavrata, same name as his father, on the throne. And then traveled to the holy places. He traveled to sometimes Tirupati, sometimes Sri Shaila, Mount Mahendra, and made his base in Sri Rangam, where he spent so many years of his life in the loving service of Sri Ranganath and all the devotees. He had attained the kingdom of God on earth by his realizations. For many years, he lived in Brahmadesha, in a place called Raja Manarkoi. And there, in the association of Vaishnavas, he worshipped the deity of Ras Gopal Swami. And it was from there that Kulasekhar Alwar departed from this world to Vaikuntha. And we're very, very happy, very honored tonight. We have with us a wonderful friend, a wonderful devotee, Kalyan Raman, who has the samadhi of Kulasekhar Alwar was in much disrepair, and he has renovated it, made it into a beautiful temple, beautiful project, has been organizing, funding, and inspiring the puja there for many years. And tomorrow, a few of us are going to go there while you're going to Rameshwar. But we'll meet you there. It's a very, very holy, special place. In the Ananta Padmanabh temple, there's a place called the Kulasekhar Alwar Mandap, are some of the most beautiful, deeply devotional, filled with siddhanta and wisdom literatures that is so deeply appreciated by all the Vaishnava Sampradayas. In fact, our own Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, before he left for America, he began the translation and purports of Mukunda Mala Stotra in the English language. And many times in his lectures, as well as in the purports of his books, he quotes Kulasekhar-3. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his South Indian tour, he visited all these places we're speaking of. And the beautiful thing is, by doing so, he has opened the treasures of the incredible histories, incredible wisdom, incredible treasures of love of these places, and reveal them to the world. And this is why every year we're so enthusiastic to come on these yatras, to access that grace that is so much permeated in the Holy Lands, at the feet of these great saints, in the association of sincere, wonderful, enthusiastic devotees. As we hear the glories of the Lord, take the prasad of the Lord, perform the seva of the Lord, and with our heart of hearts cry out the holy names. Stand up again, please. Let us very loudly show our gratitude to him for his wonderful seva to Kulasekhara and the whole world.